Welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show, the podcast that brings together industry leaders to discuss the latest trends, insights, and strategies. So sit back and relax. Let's get inspired by the amazing women who are shaping the future of professional women in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Good morning and welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show. Today our topic is breaking through your inner glass ceiling. And we're going to be talking to people about how to thrive in life. And my very special guest today is a former lawyer and a transformational leader, speaker, author, and facilitator. She's a founder of Empowered by Design and is a certified emotional intelligence practitioner. So with over 30 years of combined legal and commercial experience in various corporate environments, her vast experience spans negotiation, construction, disputes, selling complex legal matters, and resolving intricate problems with skill and finesse. So a migrant from a multicultural background, Preeti brings a unique perspective to work, fostering inclusive environments, which we all love, and the value of diversity and multiculturalism, and the perspective challenges that her abilities to relate and connect with the diverse teams and address their unique challenges. So with her own journey, she's gone on to create something more than herself to bring to everyone else. And she's now got a book out called Create Your Reality, and it's a guided journal. And through navigating life's curveballs, she's realized that our lives reflect our inner beliefs and habits. This profound insight drives her to commit to redefining women's empowerment, helping them to break through their inner glass ceilings, believe in themselves, and step into their authentic power through tailored programs. So very warm welcome, Preeti Boler.
Good morning, Leanne. Thank you for the introduction.
And, you know, we've had this chat before because you are such an advocate for women to really step into their own light. Yeah, and I do adore what you do, because anytime, you know, one woman's empowered, that flow-on effect, she's going to go on to empower other women.
Absolutely.
And we've got a nice frosty, chilly morning here in Perth. So for those who don't know, this is our coldest day in 10 months. So we're going to warm up and get into it. So, Preeti, you deliver programs and keynotes on breaking through your inner glass ceiling, which is an interesting concept. Can you tell us what you mean by the inner glass ceiling and why it's important to break through that?
Look, have you found yourself at the edge of happiness, at the edge of something that's really good for you? Maybe it's a new job, a promotion, starting a new venture, or perhaps even leaving a relationship that no longer serves you, but only to feel an invisible force holding you back. Something inside you just stops you. And you may find yourself asking, am I my own worst enemy? And we've all experienced that, right? So what is this invisible force that stops us and blocks us from having the life we want? What gets in the way of our heart's desires? And that's the inner glass. That's your inner glass is basically your mindset, your mental model. And sometimes it can be filled or constructed around unconscious patterns that's going to limit us. And that's what I call the inner glass. And why is it important to break through? Because we don't want to be living our lives and operating with a mindset of, I can't, it's too hard, it's my mother's fault, I don't deserve it. And what will people say? I'm not good enough. You know, all those words, are they familiar to you, Leanne?
Yeah, I think everybody's spoken them to themselves at least once in their life.
That's right. And that's the inner glass ceiling. And sometimes what we do is our own behaviors and the way we conduct ourselves and the self-talk that we have, we don't even realize it, but we're reinforcing that glass. We're making it stronger instead of breaking through it. But in order for us to want to thrive in life, to be able to create the reality that we want for ourselves, in order for us to achieve and live our dreams, the only way is to break through that glass ceiling.
I love that, and we often talk to our children about them talking really nicely to themselves because we know how important it is, but we don't always do it ourselves.
True. Yeah.
And I don't think, like I said, I don't think I know anyone who's actually not had those words, and they can be quite loud sometimes. So can you share a pivotal moment when you've realized that you're facing your own inner glass ceiling? Like how did you identify the barriers that were holding you back?
Leanne, I used to suffer from chronic self doubt. Believe it or not, I probably don't appear that way these days, but some years ago, I suffered from chronic self doubt and always needing the validation of others. I grew up believing that my job was to please everyone around me. So I became a serial people pleaser. And then, of course, life's curveballs knocked me down several times. And then all of those experiences convinced me that I was a failure. You see, I felt like a failure I felt like a failure as a woman when I lost my unborn babies. And then I felt like a failure as a wife when my marriage fell apart. I felt like a failure as a daughter when I disappointed my parents when I wanted a divorce because they said, what will people say?
Mm.
Not only that, I also, not only that I believe I was a failure, I also believe that I wasn't good enough and that I didn't deserve happiness. And these were the beliefs or limiting patterns that were dominating the space in my mindset. These factors reinforced that ceiling I spoke about earlier. And I was actually stuck in a loop of comparing, complaining, the negative self talk that led me to a really dark place. But it was in that place, in that space, was when I had a wake up call one day. When I found myself crumpled on the cold tiles of the bathroom floor one day, contemplating ending my pain and suffering. And I realized, Preeti, what are you doing? It was at that wake up call that I realized that things needed to change. And I became committed then I had to turn my life around, but it had to start with my own beliefs of myself. And that's when I realized that, yep, I had work to do. And the thing that helped me was journaling.
Yes. And it does have a very powerful effect on people when you start to journal.
Oh, very quickly, Leanne, I discovered that I had those limiting patterns when I started journaling. I honestly, it's such a powerful tool it enables you to sit and reflect,
Mhm.
especially when it's a guided journal. And that's when you reflect, that's when you actually confront those beliefs that hold you back. And then
Yeah.
slowly but surely you start to dismantle those patterns and construct new ones by cultivating new habits.
And I love that you've had the strength because you talk about what other people say and they think, and that becomes part of that unconscious bias, that load that you can carry. So to be able to find yourself and not just break through your own but others,
Mm.
it's quite powerful. And we all suffer with these unconscious beliefs, whether they've come from family and friends or we've created them ourselves, from experience. We have them. So with that thing, like, what do you think are some unconscious patterns that often form these inner glass ceilings? Like, how have you learned to recognize and confront them in your journey?
Look, I would say the common ones, we all have unconscious patterns. We all have them, and they've come from childhood programming, cultural conditioning, even, and life experiences. All right. But the common ones is the ones that are, I'm not good enough. I need to be perfect in everything I do. And then feeling like an imposter. There's the
Mm-hmm.
self judgment. And sometimes some of us, we even hold on to guilt, to shame, to resentment based on the experiences we've been through because we've not learned how to regulate those emotions as well. So we hold on to unregulated emotions that will end up hijacking us. Okay, but and that's what leads us to be stuck in that loop I mentioned earlier. Now, I want to say that our unconscious patterns, Leanne, doesn't just affect us in our personal life. It doesn't just stay at home. It follows us wherever we go, and especially into the workplace. It follows us into our professional life as well. And that's why we find that sometimes in workplaces you notice that there are lots of unproductive behaviors in the workplace, such as gossiping, blame shifting, needing to be in control, the lack of trust, and biases. We talk about unconscious biases and discrimination. Where does that come from? It comes from the patterns that we've been programmed with. There can be lack of empathy, and this causes a disengaged team. It causes distrust, disengagement, lack of open and transparent communication. All right, but the best way to recognize and confront them, the one tool that's absolutely necessary is self awareness.
Yeah.
Self awareness is that one thing, one skill that we need in order for us to discover or to reflect and recognize, as well as confront and dismantle. And we need to absolutely cultivate and elevate self awareness within us to become the observers of our own conducts. Very quickly, two amazing tools.
Yes.
I know I can get carried away, but two amazing tools to enhance self awareness is mindfulness practices and again,
Yes.
journaling. My favorite is journaling.
I love it because we have a gratitude practice with the kids.
Okay.
And it's only as simple like if I'm just in the car with the kids, what are you grateful for today? And it's not complex, but it's just simple to make things just bring a bit more awareness to ourselves. So I love that you bring up mindfulness because we always try to do it in those little snippets where we can each day because
Mm, mm.
kids in 10 minutes of mindfulness doesn't happen without destroying the house.
It's a fantastic practice. And you start them young. You do. That's a really good practice to have every day.
So how does emotional intelligence contribute to our ability to shatter these inner glass ceilings? Because we don't want to just crack them. We do want to destroy them. Can you actually give me an example from your experiences on how emotional intelligence has played a key role?
Okay, so I mentioned self awareness. Now, self awareness and self management is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. All right,
Hmm.
because with self awareness, it helps you pay attention and you become the observer of your
Yes.
thoughts, your beliefs. And this is a quick trick here on how, because sometimes I do have my clients saying, Pretty, I don't know how to become aware. How do I become aware now of my emotions or my thoughts? The best way is look at your emotions as passing clouds. All right. So they are passing clouds, and you, as the observer of your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, you are the sky looking down and watching the passing clouds. That's how you become the observer, and that's how you pay attention to what's happening. And the second element for emotion, the cornerstone of emotional intelligence, is self-management. What we want to do is we want to regulate what we observe. So in my situation, for example, look, I label myself a failure for many years, and I feared failure. Like every time I want to do something new, get into a new venture, I would be triggered by the fear of failure, to the point that actually it took me quite a while from conception to commercialization of my own business, because I was worried, what if I fail? My past experience was stopping me in my tracks. But what's interesting is once I confronted this fear of failure, this limiting pattern within me, and it kind of it's like when you confront something, when you label something, when you observe and you recognize it, it straight away loses its grip on you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've experienced that, but that's what happens. And once you shift your perspective, you learn how to shift your perspective. So what I did was I decided that what if what if the action I was going to take was an opportunity? What if failure is an option? What if failure is an option? So what I did was I acknowledged, in part of the technique for self-management, I came up with a tool. And the first step of that tool is acknowledge. You acknowledge you've been triggered by your old patterns. And when you acknowledge with compassion and kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Don't judge yourself, okay? Because we can get stuck in that pattern of being self-critical. And then what you want to do is also understand why this feeling has come up for you. No matter how unpleasant it is, what you want to do is don't identify with it. Because when you identify with it, then you're labeling yourself as the failure. But instead, what you want to do is understand that this you've been triggered by the feelings of failure. It's a signpost. It's a signpost that tells you, look, this matters to you. This is important to you. But remember, you're merely having an experience. And what you had before was an experience. You want to learn from it and you want to move forward. You are not the failure you experienced. That was just a floating cloud. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And then once you've understood the signpost, what you want to do is then reframe your perspective around it. So I reframed the fear of failure by asking if what if fear is an option? What if it's okay to fail? At least I tried. What if I can the fear, hold the fear of failure in one hand and courage in the other and give it a go? Take that leap anyway. And so I did.
Love that. And there's that old saying that the master has failed more times than the students has tried. You
That's
know,
very true. Yes.
and that always sticks to me because a failure is not a failure when it's a lesson as well.
You learn
You
from
know,
it. That's right.
we keep growing, we keep learning, and it's such a pivotal thing that we need to do. You know.
So truly. And one more thing is sometimes when we go through unpleasant experiences, difficult experiences, what we do is we tend to pay attention and focus on them instead of shifting our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And when we pay attention and focus on the unpleasant and the difficult stuff, what happens is we energize it.
Mm-hmm.
What you pay attention on, you energize. So when you shift your perspective, what you're doing is you're energizing the opposite of that difficult, unpleasant experience. And that's what you want to start cultivating as a habit, learning to reframe, shifting it constantly. But it requires you to sit, reflect, recognize. So you've got to go through that process of self-awareness and have the tools of managing that experience, that emotion that comes up for you.
Brilliant. And that's, yeah, I can't add anything to that. That's just actually so perfectly said. So in saying that, what advice would you give for someone who's trapped in their own inner glass ceiling? Because everyone's been there at some stage.
Hmm.
How would you help them see a way out?
Look, the first thing anyone would need to do is to get a journal. Seriously. All right. And I swear by a journal. Better still, a guided journal, because guided journals will have prompts for your self reflection. I've had clients who use journals and they said, Pretty, I don't know what to write in those blank pages. I don't know how to process my thoughts. I don't know how to get them to come up. I may be thinking something. The moment I take the pen and start writing, those thoughts just disappear, or I forget. So what you want to do is you want to start using a guided journal which has prompts for self-reflection. That's the best tool ever, and it's my go-to, as well as I've converted my clients as well. And I just want to share, here's one journal that you can start using. Can you see that? All
Yes,
right.
the Create Your Reality Journal. We love
Yes.
this journal.
And this is a journal that's going to help you to, it's going to guide you to recognize your limiting patterns. Like I said earlier, we all have them, but just recognizing them and doing nothing about it is not going to change anything for you. What you want to do is confront them, and then you want to be able to dismantle them, question them, and that is how we shatter the glass ceiling. Once you've done that, and simultaneously, actually, then you start setting conscious intentions and practices so that you can start changing your life's habits. So I've provided 7 life-changing habits within my journal. And that's the best way to do it, because when you start cultivating new habits and start focusing on them, you energize them, they become your new mental model or the framework of your mindset. All right. And then the second thing you can do is, honestly, I invite you to give yourselves the gift of embracing the vulnerability and the bravery of seeking support and guidance. It's nothing like that. No one achieves success by themselves. So go ahead and look for a mentorship program or any kind of support you can get. Now, I do provide mentorship programs as well. So if I may
Yeah,
mention that, Leanne, if that's okay.
absolutely.
All right. So with my mentorship programs, I work with you for 4 2-hour sessions on how to cultivate self-awareness, how to cultivate the skills and use the tools for self-management, and then how to shift and reframe your perspectives, to shift from your unconscious patterns to conscious intentions and practices. And what we will do is, within the mentorship program, you also get a copy of the journal, and I'll guide you through how to use the journal as well.
And I love the journal so much because, especially as you start, it's watching your own journey unfold.
Both.
And
Absolutely.
I would say that when I started journaling, it started as a crazy woman who gathered her thoughts. And
Yeah.
and because it was raw, it's unfiltered, it's authentically you, and to actually see from that slightly, crazy woman at the beginning, just to finding yourself, to go, you know what, I really have, because you don't always feel the transition. It's not always like a light bulb. But when you compare the start to the present and realizing, you know what, I've actually embraced so much more in my life now. And it's like, for me, it's like a new sense of gratitude.
It's like peeling off the layers, right? Peeling off the layers or unlocking the gift that's already inside you. It's there. Who
Yes.
you're meant to be, your true self, your higher self is sitting in you, waiting to be unleashed. And
Absolutely.
and what I like also about journaling is that as you go through that process of unlocking or discovering your true higher self, you are doing it in a compassionate, kind manner. All right. You're not beating yourself up. You're not, judging yourself for all the experiences you've been through, all the thought patterns you've had. But you want to be able to go through the process by saying, you've brought me this far. I am here today because of you. I appreciate you. But now, for me to go further, I'm going to have to leave you here. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't belong in my future. I want to be able to create new experiences for myself. I want to be able to unlock a life that I am deserving of. This is the kind of life that I have been dreaming about. I want to create that life now. But you see, you have no place in that future. But thank you for bringing me to this point. Yeah.
And that's it. We've got to be able to thank ourselves for the journey that we're on. And
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for your time and bringing your beautiful wisdom to the world again. I will be putting this out onto all good podcasting stations. And for anybody who actually wants to connect with Preeti, we have you as a premium member on our Business Women Australia website, and they can also find you through LinkedIn.
That's
And
right.
I will be adding your links to the very podcasting stations it's going out to. Thank you so much for your time, Preeti.
Thank you so much, Leanne. You have a wonderful day.
You too. And we'll talk to everyone else soon.
Speak soon. Bye.